teachers have limited instructional time, and we've hit a point of fatigue with teaching staff more and more. Teachers are leaving the profession, more is being demanded of teachers. And I want to
Mhm.
know, what advice do you have around this? And how can we help schools move forward doing things more deeply versus, you know,
I
not
get
doing?
it. Well, there isn't any research that says frantic coverage of everything leads to better results. In fact, the research that I read says that we should be going deeper with fewer initiatives, and that would predictably narrow the achievement gap, by the way. And so I learned this one phrase from Dr. Reeves, which was, for every new initiative we ask teachers to implement, we must be willing to take three things off their plate. So we can't just keep.
Will you just say that again? That
Sure.
feels so huge and like
Yeah,
something that's not at all present in
it's
many of the schools that we work in.
you're right, Katie. And I was a former superintendent in California and I had to walk that walk when I said it. We did it. But I'll say it again, for every new initiative we ask teachers to implement, we should be considerate enough to take three things off their plate so they can actually have some sort of success when they implement something. Teachers have the curse of the conscientious. If you tell them to do something, they will, because they're just great people. But it won't be that well. They're not going to do it that great because they have another dozen things they have to do at the same time. And so I think if we go deeper with fewer things, this is a district level or a complex level or a building level leader's responsibility to share with teachers what should we put in timeout for the next couple of years so we can go deeper with something that might yield greater results. Some things work better than others. And I just think that time means that we focus only on those things that can have the greatest impact on moving the needle. And I think there's a lot of things everybody wants to do. It's because they like doing that. But I think we have to take an honest assessment and just ask ourselves, but does that practice have as much practice or implementation or implications as that practice? It sounds easy to say. I know it's more difficult to implement. But honestly, when I was a superintendent, Katie, I asked the staff, what can we stop doing so we can do the things that I want us to be passionate about?
Yeah, can you dive into that piece a little bit more,
Oh,
Steve?
yeah.
I think just that practical piece of how, as you were superintendent, how did you go about trying to prioritize what mattered the most, trying to strip away the things that were less essential to
Yeah,
focus
well,
on?
and Dr. Brown knows this. For instance, in an achievement team, we do pre and post assessments. So teachers administer a pre-assessment. They analyze that information that informs their teaching, and then they may provide focused instruction in between the post assessment. Well, in the district I was leading, not only did I ask teachers to give pre and post assessments, but they were giving interim assessments and benchmark assessments. The students in that district were over tested and under assessed. So we got rid of those larger benchmark assessments. Those are the autopsy report. By the time you give those things, it's not enough time to make any decisions anyway. And we strictly focused on formative evaluation, which was fewer assessments, but they had much more impact because those assessments were given during instruction, not after instruction. So we limited the number of summative assessments we gave.
Mm.
Another thing is that focus targets and priority standards. I know it's been around forever, but I can tell you right now, whenever I was a principal or a leader, I only asked the people I work with to teach a third of the standards at their grade level, one third. And we prioritized it and we figured out one third they were. I never saw our state assessment results get lower results when we actually slimmed down the number of learning targets. So we prioritized a third of the standards, and we taught those before the state test. I hate teaching to the test, but we did teach those before a large assessment. And then after that assessment was administered, we got back to some of the other standards we didn't get a chance to teach yet. But we already knew that those ones would be priority. And you know what happens when teachers teach a third of everything they're supposed to teach? They go home with lower blood pressure, Katie. They go home happier and they feel like they can get their arms around what they need to do and not be stressed. I hope that makes sense.